One of the first questions, and as I'm discussing a client's property with them, is how many bucks do you have on your land? How many bucks you think you have in your land? And then they'll all think about the bigger ones, but I'm talking about total antlered bucks. Well, there's a really easy way to tell how many bucks you have in your land and get a very true representation of how many bucks are actually in and around your land, using your land. And I'm talking about total antlered bucks throughout the entire season. I think it's really interesting to arrive at that number, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but a very easy way you have to have, and there's a few ingredients. One, you have to have unpressured food plots. And what I mean by unpressured is, true, we have a redneck ghillie blind right over here that we come in from the backside, we can hunt, the deer go back and forth through here, and they have no clue that we're sitting there at all. So that's what I mean by unpressured. It doesn't mean that you don't hunt it. It means that the deer never know that you're hunting it. They have the illusion of completely low risk out here, where they can come here during the daylight hours and never get spooked by a human unless we actually shoot them. So that's really important. Another important ingredient is I like a solid, very high quality mock scrape or perennial scrape. Now, perennial scrapes are tough because branches get broken in half. I find that a lot of perennial licking branches are higher up like this, so that they're out of the reach of some does, but certainly all the fawns, young bucks like the button bucks, fawn bucks that come in here. And there's just not enough scent, or a lot of scent left on here. But when you have a community scrape like this, and it's a perennial scrape, and you build this feature on an unpressured food source, folks, I'm telling you, every buck that comes around here, doesn't matter if it's after dark or during the day, you're gonna get some video of them. Picture, we put a high quality Access trail camera right here. We can rely on it all season, and the collection of bucks here is phenomenal. I was just asking Dylan, how many bucks do you think we have on this? And we haven't counted them up this year. On one of the trail cameras on the other property, one of the other properties I hunt, we had 34, 33 bucks, 35, somewhere around there last year. And I would assume we're in that same range. We're off the top of our head, I'm sure we can come up with, Dylan said 20 to 30. I'm sure it's in that 25, 30 range at least. But then some of those include bucks after dark. But bottom line is, if you really want to know how many bucks you have in your land, get a perennial licking branch like this. I love using vines. You can see we just tied a rope to a branch that was coming out. We put a camera on there. That camera has a branch above it. It's higher than the level of the deer's eyes, and we never have deer looking at this camera. It's pretty awesome that it's hidden. The tree is wider than the camera, so it hides real well. But you can get a very accurate census of how many bucks are on your property and using the land. Now, by the time we do this here, and we do one down lower on a lower elevation, 300 yards away and 200 feet in elevation less, then we know every buck that's on here. We rarely miss a buck doing something like this. We have another water hole and scrape combo that's about 300 yards from here, maybe even 400. And we do have an overlap of most bucks, but there's a couple different ones that are unique in each spot. But boy, I think we're getting a representation of every buck within a quarter to a half mile in every direction. It all boils back to an unpressured food plot, a perennial licking branch and scrape, getting a camera on it, and then making sure this is your only one out here. We only have one mock scrape here. I've been on properties, but for some reason they have 30 all the way around the food plot, thinking that more bucks are going to be attracted. That just means that there's a lower value per scrape, per licking branch surrounding the entire property. I want every buck that comes into this location to focus on this one right here. Now, you could take a census on these. We actually start our mock scrapes in July, August, but consider that July, August, September is a very, very poor census of your deer herd. No matter what scientific model is promoting that, you do not want to take a census on your property in August and September, and there's one great reason why. September represents a pivot point on your land. The deer numbers are either going to go up or they're going to go down. The hunting pressure is either going to affect the land, the habitat that you have that was summer related is not fall related, the deer leave. Maybe you have better fall habitat, you have better fall food, you're maximizing your hunter efficiency, you're not spooking deer. Well, then you can expect your numbers and the number of bucks to increase dramatically. The does, that doe number stays about the same. It's pretty constant unless you have major food and habitat shifts and you're losing those does. But by and large, if you have quality fall habitat, the does and fawns are staying. You might collect a few from outside your properties, but bucks are the one major portion of the deer herd that you can attract during the hunting season. and that number should be going up, up, up as the season progresses on great habitat and hunting managed properties. And I see a lot of properties where it's going down, down. So that number in September, August is meaningless because you can't impact the herd in August and September. You can only impact it during the hunting season when you're attracting, holding, and protecting young bucks, and you have the ability to shoot does if needed to lower the population, or not shoot them or not hunt them so that you can raise the population. A lot more that you can learn just from a single mock scrape like this in camera location in an unpressured food plot. I encourage you to try it this year. That's how you can figure out how many bucks you have on your land, but you can also tell how you're doing hunting pressure wise, if your neighbors are pushing deer onto your land, the timing of those bucks coming onto your land, if they're leaving at a certain time. You can tell a lot, way more than just a number, but at the same time, it's a whole lot of fun grabbing these cards and seeing what we find on them and see it as it relates to that overall buck movement and deer movement on a daily basis, all hunting season long. And you can find that out with just one perennial looking branch on an unpressured food plot. Try it this season, plan for it this off season, and you'll have a lot of fun with it like we do.